Before we begin, viewer discretion is strongly advised. This story is for educational and entertainment purposes only. No one saw it coming, not the press, not the judge, not even the defense. It was just another day in federal court during the albeit trial of Sean Diddy Combs until Jim Carrey walked in. Yes, that Jim Carrey. No smiles. No jokes. Just a long, slow walk to the witness stand in a black overcoat and sunglasses. The man known for his wild characters, manic energy, and infectious laughter moved like someone dragging a burden through molasses. The courtroom froze. Even the judge stopped reading. Carrey didn't make eye contact. He clutched a worn manila folder and spoke only when the bailiff asked him to remove his glasses. His eyes were hollow, like he hadn't slept in weeks. Then came his voice, low, cracking, but steady. "I'm not here for revenge," he said. "I'm here to release what I've never said out loud." Silence fell as he was sworn in. Then came the first blow. "I've done things I still can't talk about without shaking." And Sean Combs was at the center of it. You could hear a pin drop. The gallery was in disbelief. Some reporters stared at each other, mouths slightly open. No one moved. Jim Carrey, global icon of comedy, began unraveling a testimony that would shatter that image. He spoke of rituals in mansions, hidden away in the Hollywood hills, where laughter was replaced by pressure, and success didn't come from auditions, but obedience. He described candlelit rooms, tubs filled with ice, and invitations that came with no address, only a time, a driver, and a warning to come alone. "I thought I was there to pitch myself," Carrey said. "Instead, I was stripped of myself." He recounted his first meeting with Diddy. At the time, he was still doing stand-up gigs, barely making rent. One day, he got a call. A party, private, no agents allowed. He thought he was networking. But it wasn't a party, he said. It was a test. Phones were confiscated. NDAs passed around like name tags. And then, the bath. "I bathed with Sean Combs," Carrey said, his voice level. "I thought it was a performance, a metaphor. But it was a ritual, a cleansing, a control mechanism." The courtroom stayed frozen. Even the stenographer hesitated. He told me, "This is how the greats are born. You leave your old self in the water." Carrey described the humiliation, the silence of others, assistants, casting agents, all watching, all complicit. He was handed a robe, a script, and a note. "Welcome to the next level." That script? The ABBA Cable Guy, a movie that changed his life, but not in the way most think. "I knew I hadn't earned it with talent alone," he said. "I submitted, and I hated myself for it." His voice cracked. "Hollywood didn't just break me. Diddy owned me." The judge leaned forward. The jury sat still. What was unfolding wasn't just testimony. It was an exorcism. Jim Carrey had just shattered the illusion of stardom with 600 words that would haunt everyone in that courtroom and beyond. The courtroom wasn't just silent, it was stunned. As Jim Carrey continued, he peeled back more layers. Gone was the actor. Before them sat a witness, a man shedding decades of shame. He leaned into the mic. "I wasn't forced, no threats, no violence. But it was clear, play along or disappear. That was the real message." He explained how access in Hollywood isn't earned, it's brokered. And Sean Combs, he said, wasn't just a participant, he was the gatekeeper. "There were no written rules," Carrey continued, "but everyone knew the script, and if you didn't follow it, you faded." He told the jury how. After that first bath encounter, the invitations kept coming. Different houses, different faces, but always the same format. And always somewhere in the background, Diddy. He described another incident, a lavish suite, another private gathering. This time he wasn't alone. Several other rising stars were there, some already recognizable. They were led into separate rooms. The lights were soft, the champagne cold, the cameras discreet. And I remember thinking, if I leave, I lose everything I've built. So I stayed. Then he paused, voice barely above a whisper. And that's when I realized I wasn't being celebrated. I was being owned. The crowd flinched. A juror looked away. Jim described how Diddy orchestrated everything with quiet authority. He didn't shout. He didn't command. He'd just nod, and everyone would move. He recalled a chilling line Diddy once said to him, in private. Your face makes people laugh, but your silence keeps you paid. Carrey stared at the gallery. That stuck with me because it was true. My silence was currency. He described the transformation, from wild, energetic comic to major studio lead. Suddenly, I was getting parts I hadn't auditioned for. Doors opened, deals were made. I became safe, but only because I had proved I wouldn't talk. The judge interrupted briefly to clarify the relevance. The prosecutor responded that this was a pattern, a culture, not just an incident. The judge allowed it. Carrey continued with a memory from 1996. It was the first time I saw the darker side up close. I was invited to a party. No phones, no plus ones, just names. He described a house turned into a maze, corridors of velvet, curtains, soft ambient music, rooms where people wore masks, literal masks. I asked someone, "What is this?" They said, "The second act." That's when I knew this wasn't just about favors. This was a system. Then came the moment that rocked the courtroom. There was a girl, young, barely 20. She stumbled out of a back room crying, dress torn. No one helped. No one flinched. The gallery gasped. I looked around and realized we'd all been trained to look away. He looked down at his hands. And I did. I looked away because I thought I had to. He described the guilt that never left. Every laugh I gave after that, every award, every cheer. I wondered if it was worth the price. A reporter in the room wiped away a tear. The weight in the air was unbearable. Jim Carrey wasn't done. You think this is rare? This is the price of belonging. By now, the courtroom didn't feel like a place of law. It felt like a reckoning. The judge leaned forward. Reporters had stopped typing, and Jim Carrey was no longer performing. He was purging. This didn't happen once, he said. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a bad night. It was a machine. And Sean Combs was the engineer. He described how, after the first so-called initiation, the pattern repeated. Different locations, always exclusive, always secretive. But the script? Identical. You arrive, you obey, you leave in silence, and you get rewarded. The faces, he said, changed, but the energy didn't. Young talent. Always people about to pop. That's when they came for you, when you still thought you needed them. He told the jury about bringing a fellow actor once, a face every person in the room would recognize from major comedies. He left early, said he didn't feel right. I didn't stop him. I should have. Years later, he thanked me, said I saved his soul. He paused, visibly shaken. That guilt stayed with me. Then, something darker. These weren't just parties. They were surveillance networks. There were people in every room, agents, handlers, execs, just watching, taking mental notes, sometimes real ones. He described nights where tapes were made, documents were signed. But the real deals, they happened in bedrooms, behind closed doors, not in boardrooms or meetings, in shadows. Reporters in the gallery looked pale. A juror blinked back tears. He spoke of a 2003 penthouse gathering in New York. A filmmaker took a young performer into a side room. He was shaking. I knew him. Just got a label deal. He looked terrified, but no one intervened. Not even me, his voice cracked. I told myself it was normal, that I misunderstood, that this is just the price of the dream. But the price, he said, never stopped collecting. He began describing what happened after the events. The psychological unraveling. I'd smile, on carpets, pose for cameras, take home awards, and cry alone, because I knew what I had traded. He spoke of nightmares. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, convinced I was still in one of those houses. Hallways, masks, whispers. It never left me. He tried telling people. Friends, managers, therapists. Most responded with discomfort. Others warned him off. They'd say, "That's just how it works, Jim. Don't make trouble. Don't ruin your run." He described feeling like he was losing his mind. They make you question everything. They make you feel complicit for just breathing. He stared at his trembling hands. At one point, I thought maybe I deserved it, that I'd asked for it. But then I heard other testimonies. Cassie Ventura, Monique, people labeled as unstable, dramatic, and I realized they weren't unstable. They were silenced. His tone hardened. This industry grooms you to think your pain is imaginary, that your silence is noble, that complicity is professionalism. He looked around the courtroom. That's how the machine survives, by making the truth feel like a liability. The judge didn't interrupt. The jury sat, transfixed. Then, with a steady voice, Carrey delivered the line that hung in the air. "I don't want revenge. I want accountability." With every word, Jim Carrey's composure sharpened. He wasn't trembling anymore. His voice, though still heavy with grief, had turned resolute. The courtroom was still. It felt like something big was coming. Everyone could feel it. "There's a list," he said. He didn't raise his voice, but the words struck like a bell. Not written, not official, but real. And everyone in Hollywood knows it. The gallery stirred. People leaned forward. Phones vibrated quietly as journalists dared to start typing again. "It's not a document you hold," Carrey clarified. "It's a mental ledger. A system of nods, glances, and whispers, the ones who always show up, the ones who never ask questions, the ones who play along." He said you started to see the same faces at every event, always hovering, always observing. Same directors, same casting agents, publicists who controlled entire narratives, producers with too much power. They didn't just attend the parties, they engineered them. They were the gatekeepers. He claimed they protected each other out of mutual survival, because if one domino fell, the rest would come tumbling. Then, for the first time in his testimony, he began naming names. There was one actor, someone beloved for playing moral heroes. Everyone trusts him, but I saw him walk a nervous newcomer into a locked room and shut the door. Came out smiling like it was business as usual. Gasps filled the gallery. He described a household name talk show host who once stepped over a passed-out dancer without blinking. Didn't stop, didn't ask, just walked on like she was part of the furniture. He mentioned a music producer known for launching stars. He wasn't mentoring them, he was delivering them. Then Carrey turned, pointedly, toward Diddy. "Sean Combs wasn't just at the top of the list," he said. "He created it." The gallery fell into eerie silence. Even the judge sat back, letting the weight settle. He curated it. He chose who got access, who could be trusted, who had already crossed the line so deeply they'd never turn back. He described Diddy as a ghost host, slipping between rooms, nodding at people, whispering instructions no one else heard. He didn't watch. He directed. Then came the memory that stopped even the stenographer's hands. I was at an estate in 2005. The upper floors were blocked. Someone slipped me a key card and said, "VIP only." Upstairs, he found a room filled with masks. Not party masks, ritual masks. Not for fun, for anonymity, for deniability. Inside were 5 names, he said, that anyone in that room would recognize. Top-tier directors, A-list actors, executives, and Diddy at the center. They weren't drinking. They weren't mingling. They were watching, observing people below, deciding who could be useful, who could be trusted, who was ready to be initiated. Carrey looked directly at the jury. His eyes, for the first time, steady and fierce. The higher you climbed in that house, the lower your morality had to sink. He paused, scanning the room. These weren't parties. They were ceremonies, initiations, designed to bind people together through mutual guilt. Because once you crossed that line, they didn't have to threaten you. You'd never out yourself, because you'd be outing them. The courtroom sat in stunned silence, and Jim Carrey, calm now, had just shattered the myth of fame and pointed straight at the architects behind it. The courtroom felt like a different place now. No longer just a venue for legal arguments, but a chamber of raw truth. And Jim Carrey, once the jester of Hollywood, had become its harshest critic. He adjusted the microphone, his voice steady, his posture grounded. "There's one more thing I need to say," he began. He spoke about the psychological aftermath, the damage not captured by cameras or contracts. You don't get famous in this town without being touched, maybe not physically, but spiritually, emotionally, mentally. Someone gets inside you and breaks something. The room held its breath. I thought I could avoid it, be the funny guy, the harmless one. But when it came time to level up, they told me, "You want the role? You walk through fire." And Diddy was the man holding the match. He listed the aftershocks, panic attacks, dissociation, chronic guilt. There were days I'd shoot a comedy scene, walk off set, and sob in my trailer, alone. He admitted contemplating suicide. 2007, after the number 23. I looked at my life and thought, if this is success, I don't want it anymore. Then came the most chilling revelation. He described seeing a photo online, a picture from one of Diddy's parties he didn't remember attending. In it, he appeared drugged, glassy-eyed, next to someone he didn't recognize. That's when I realized I wasn't living, I was surviving. He told the courtroom about how Diddy didn't need to say threats. He just made the calls. You'd miss out on a role, lose a deal, no explanation, just silence. He recalled a moment before the 2000 MTV Movie Awards. He was handed a hotel room number, a time, and a simple instruction. Show up clean, no cologne, just vulnerability. I didn't go, Jim said. The next day, I was pulled from a major endorsement deal. No reason given. The gallery remained still. Everyone knew exactly what that meant. Then came the final blow. I'm not telling this to get him locked up for what he did to me. I'm doing this for the ones who didn't survive, the ones who disappeared, the ones who broke. He described Hollywood as a parasite. It feeds on dreams. It finds the hungry, the desperate, the brilliant, and it makes them choose your soul or your silence. He said names of others who didn't make it. Young actors who faded, singers who vanished. Some couldn't do it. Some tried and cracked. Others said no, and we never heard from them again. He paused. They weren't weak. They were human. The judge asked if he had any final words. Carrey scanned the room. He wasn't speaking to the court anymore. He was speaking to the world. To anyone watching this, if you think I'm exaggerating, if you think I'm broken, if you think I'm crazy, I hope you're right. I hope I am crazy, because if I'm not, then this industry is sicker than any of us ever imagined. He stepped down. No applause, no questions, just silence. As he walked out, even the reporters didn't follow. They just watched, stunned, as a man who once made the world laugh disappeared through the courtroom doors, leaving behind not entertainment but truth. And somewhere behind him, Sean Combs sat still, silent, because Jim Carrey hadn't come to perform. He came to testify.